Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Niagara this morning. Dave will be joining us. He said, I'm a couple of minutes late, and we're already late because he's a couple of minutes late. So I thought, I'm coming on. Welcome, everybody. So, Jay's 1-0. Not a good weekend. Well, I suppose half a good weekend for the Jays. They won on Friday night and they lost on Saturday night. So now it's all going to Los Angeles. So I guess that's what everybody's going to have to pick up upon. So what's that? Today it's in Los Angeles. So then there's a 3-game stint in Los Angeles and then back for another 2 in Toronto if we need to go to 7. Okay, so I would bring that up because obviously local interest in there because Toronto team doing well. Okay, so I was hoping he would have joined us by now. It's weird because there we go. There
Here I am.
To the live show, Dave.
What's that? I should get rid of that light in the background.
Yeah, welcome to the live show already, Dave. Hope everything works out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's okay, so
what have you guys been talking about?
Pardon me?
What have you guys been talking about?
I haven't been talking about anything. I was just introducing the show, saying hi, mentioning the fact that the Jays were split 1 apiece. So the action goes to Los Angeles tonight.
Well, that Dodger pitcher was amazing. I don't think anybody that's got a pitcher that's on their game is going to win the game. Yeah. Very, very rare. Like that guy went the whole 9 innings, and he got stronger as the game went on.
Yeah.
And when no one's going to win a game when you're, against a team that's got the pitcher right in the zone like that.
And he's lights out the whole night. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He starts out strong and gets stronger.
Yeah. Okay. So, first article here is far-right connection to Niagara's pedophile protests. I'm assuming that what is meant by this is these are the protests outside of the St. Catherine's court when this individual was supposed to be for coming for A, bail hearings and B, actual the actual trial.
Trial for what?
For whatever it was, there was supposed to be a trial, I think.
Oh, for a pedophile?
For this pedophile, yeah.
Yeah, pedophile protest. Yeah, but do you recognize the name here? They're connecting this group with the far right groups, Nazi-like groups. They're warning that this is a group that appears to be very much a social group trying to establish protests against pedophiles, etc. And the guy that's in, it says a Welland man, and his group sharing Nazi propaganda, white nationalist ideas.
Yeah.
Rob Primerano. You remember Primo?
He's a conservative, but he's not far right.
No, this is Primo, the same guy that came with we interviewed this guy.
Yeah. As I said, he's a conservative. He's not far right.
Well, have you read his stuff since we've interviewed him? He seems to be tracking farther and farther. He's tracking farther and farther right. He was part of the
group that was supporting William. Yeah, he was supporting William O'Sullivan at one point.
Yeah, against the pedophilia church, but I think he's gone way too far to the right here. He's got a group here commonly referred to group. So they're looking for a campaign to equip community patrol response team with body cameras, drones, high visibility reflective jackets, flashlights, headlights, gloves, whistles, two-way radios, police scanners, battery packs, and binoculars to document incidences and expose predators. So they're going to be hunting pedophiles. I wonder who else they're going to start hunting later. It's it's a little bit creepy, I think, because what happens is these may be well-meaning, and they're going to go out there and they're going to be like the vigilantes, like the guardian angels or something like that. What happens normally, though, is they start to track way right, and then they decide who is who, and they take the law into their own hands. That's what I'm afraid of.
It's an interesting thing about this is that I was told a couple of weeks ago when the first of these demonstrations went on, there was a woman who was just watching as she was going by. She was coming to our office actually, and she had a then all of a sudden there was kind of loud honking, beep 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 beep, as a car went by, right, in supporting of it. And she recognized a person in there, and she just screamed out from the wall, "What the heck are you supporting them for, you pedophile?" Because it was a guy who had actually been, I don't know whether he was accused, but she'd had a history with, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So, but basically she told the story like that, and so they're managing to get all manners of people, including people who, I guess that it's just the direct, I guess the community safety aspect of it is dragging a lot of people on board, right?
Well, it would have that appeal. Now this is associated with the Second Sons, it seems. David C. Hoffman, director of criminology and criminal justice program at University of New Brunswick, said the Second Sons is a Canadian men's only white nationalist group founded in 2024, a prominent far right activist. So basically, they'd be like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers kind of thing. They're very far to the right. And Second Sons also collect in a gym, which some refer to online by the initials SS. That is a bit of a problem, don't you think?
Yeah.
Second Sons being SS, that I would get rid of that moniker right away. And another group trained in gyms and martial arts, and it looks like they're almost like becoming sort of quasi paramilitary. And CBC investigation Second Sons jiu-jitsu training session in Welland martial arts in May. Primo was part of this participation initiated by, and they had tattoos and all this. So this is a group that have to be watched because it is a group of men, mostly it looks like, and they are becoming. We remember the protest at Queenston Heights where they went there and they started chanting their slogans and that. And I think the issue here is this is a group that by itself could be just a bunch of lads, motorcycle lads or group or gang or guys that go to the gym. But the fact is they're beginning to develop an ideology. Well, and if a lot of young men, that means there's going to be a lot of testosterone. And what's going to trigger them? That's my situation here.
Yeah, according to what I'm seeing here, Second Sons in Canada has been closely linked with Diagolon.
Well, You know what? I'm not so sure that all these links can be put together. I think they might have
Yeah.
like-minded ideas.
That's actually the thing that I'm always curious about, because how do you prove a link?
Like this particular group's was just started up in 2024. It's a year old.
Yeah.
So how does it? I don't think it could get too sophisticated yet. We'll see what happens to it. We know Primo was one of the guys that went and kind of he was part of the demonstration when they had the gay flag in Catholic schools. Remember that when they had the pride flag at Catholic schools? Him and a bunch of people showed up and denounced it and had a demonstration in front of it. Primo is also one of the guys that was in front of our regional health guy during COVID, and they were protesting him.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? They were out in front of him. The last time I had contact with Primo is when I told him I didn't believe the stuff that they were saying. It seemed to me he was following some conspiracy ideology about the vaccines, and I put in a comment that I thought that was I didn't believe it. I don't think it was right. And he said I feel sorry for you.
Yeah. Okay. So basically it's saying Second Sons presents itself as a fitness oriented activist group defending Canadian values, but experts say the rhetoric includes nationalist and anti-immigrant messaging, with claims that their birthright has been stolen and that they're being replaced by foreigners.
Now, this is a very important here.
It always bothers me when I see
line here. What?
I said it always bothers me when when you see the line replaced by foreigners. Immigrants who come into the country are not foreigners per se, because they're now Canadians or Canadian residents.
I think this is a very important thing here. And it said they have the right to dissemble. They have a right to free speech. It may not be everybody's cup of tea, but they haven't done the violent things we tend to associate with far-right racist organizations. There's no evidence of that. That was the Hoffman, the guy that was an expert on these groups. Hoffman said he isn't surprised to see the street patrols grow out of protests, as the far right has a long history of building narratives around protecting women and children. Yeah, they do. The far right does, but everybody does. Organized crime did. Al Capone made soup kitchens during the 30s. He had, he did charitable things. Hamas, that's what they do. That's the first thing they ever did, was establish schools and hospitals and that kind of thing. They're a terrorist organization, but they also have a political side too. So it's very hard to, when people go to criticize them, how can you criticize them? So it says here that Hoffman says, of course, they're against the pride. It says that might lead someone to protest a drag queen story time or Pride Day. Yeah, so if you've got drag queen story times in your school, and these people come to protest, you're not going to get a whole lot of people objecting to that protest. You know what I mean? And they can gain support in some ways like that. But the thing that got me the most was a post that it says it was, I don't know if it was Primo's post or a repost on Telegram by Primo on October 9th included a passage from Mein Kampf. Now that's where you get a little bit dangerous. Adolf Hitler's autobiography and political manifesto. The post quotes Hitler on how to produce a national spirit, that encouraged peoples to bear arms, stating, and this is the problematic part for me, the problem of reestablishing the political power of our nation is first of all a problem of restoring the instinct of national self-preservation.
Yeah.
And you see what that's having a great deal of problem in the United States. We saw, in the extreme form, you saw that kid shoot up, take 14 lives in Tops, or was it 10? I don't know. In Tops Market, because he was acting on the replacement theory that he was going to go kill those black people because they were replacing the white. And the black, he didn't really do his homework because the black people are under the exact same demographic pressures that the white people are. They're not having babies. Basically, that's it, And but that's the kind of mentality. So that's the extreme thing. Now it looks like Primo's group's being very peaceful so far. And I don't know how much of it's actually just Primo or he's much of a spokesperson.
Well, they've been rowdy. They have been rowdy. I've been past both of the demonstrations outside the St. Catherine's Court because I work around there. And they've been very, very loud, but yes, very, but also very, not very peaceful.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it then.
Yeah.
We might as individuals find issue with their politics or their points of view. But my issue with this is a kind of thing that's growing. And we find, we talked a lot about this about a year or so ago, or maybe a little bit longer. Maybe I think it's more like a couple of years ago, where we get a lot of white men, and when it came time to for the Proud Boys, when they're talking about the Proud Boys, we get a lot of young men who get angry and feel that they're not effective in society, and they don't like what's happening in society. When you get a lot of angry men, particularly angry young men, you can get problems coming on. You don't want that. You saw what happened. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers went at it. And Washington, they were two organized groups that raided the Capitol building. And both their leaders got put in jail, but got taken out right away. There was a lot of issue with the Proud Boys being a racist organization, but that wasn't true. They're a right-wing organization, but not necessarily racist, because their leader was Enrique Torrio, who was an Afro-Cuban.
Yeah. Well,
and when they talked about Proud people who have joined the Proud Boys organization in Canada, there was 2 or 3 prominent black members. So I don't know if this particular group here, I don't know if it's racist, although there are elements of racism, because allegedly some of their posts have been make Canada white again, which is I don't know, a little bit problematic for me.
I'm very bothered. I'm very bothered when I see. I've seen them increasingly on Facebook in the last couple of weeks. What I'd seen was racist propaganda that's appearing
on Facebook.
Yeah.
How did it get on Facebook? How did it miss the censors?
Well, it's appearing on Facebook right now. And what they basically are doing, they're saying it's not race. It's not. You see, the point being, the way they're missing the censorship is they're saying things like, we have a problem with foreign, we should employ Canadians, not foreigners.
Well, yeah, we should be employing Canadians over foreigners when that's possible.
When they go into the detail, what they're talking about is foreign people who migrated to Canada.
Oh, you're talking about immigrants and
Yeah.
things like that. Well, if
Of
they're
course,
if
as soon
they're
as
if
I say
they're
I'm,
if they're a Canadian citizen or a landed immigrant waiting to become they come into the country legally, the government encourages everybody to get a job and get working. Even the refugees that were housed in hotels here, they're encouraged all along to get out, get work, get out in the community and do some work.
yeah.
So if you ask me, when I see a foreigner, somebody that wasn't born here, and they're working, I'm pretty good with that. Like, but I don't think they're taking somebody else's job necessarily.
Yeah.
Like what taking.
Well, that's what the
Native born
implications
Canadian.
on.
What I do have issue with is what I do have issue with. What I do have issue with the government and its diversity program and things like that, where they hire minorities just because they have to have minorities in among them. I think that waters down the talent. I think part of the reason, and like I don't want to get in a whole lot of trouble for this one, but the Toronto airport was the second worst in the world. International airport was the second worst in the Western world, and I have a feeling that, and if you go to the airport, it's just full of mostly Indians working there, and I have a feeling that they didn't train them properly enough, that they put them in just so they could have it was a good image. Here we have this diversity, but I don't think they trained them well enough, and that kind of thing. And everybody's got a thick accent, so you see my point here. Of course Canadians are going to think, well, why am I'm going to the airport and I can hardly understand who this person's talking about. Why didn't they just hire a person of color who could speak English well, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and the better you speak English, of course, the higher the wages and salary you tend to command.
Yeah, I think probably part of the problem with DEI and what people think is, you're not hiring Canadians is, yeah, the Canadian government, many among the Liberals were pushing this diversity thing, and I think they were just sort of accelerating it, and that's why every time you try to phone the government office or something like that, it's somebody with a thick accent. And of course, everybody's thinking, aren't they hiring people that were born here?
Yeah.
Like every time you get on the telephone with anybody from the government, you get these people with thick accents. That's been going on for a while because the push to diversify. And of course, you can understand people getting all annoyed about this when they're thinking, my friend was looking for a job and they could have had this job. Even when I went to the hospital one time, New St. Catharines Hospital, there, in order to get into get into one of the units, there was a phone there, and you had to call in to get into the unit to visit someone. And I couldn't understand the person that was on the other end of the line. They had a very, very strong Slavic accent, extremely strong Slavic accent. And I remember my thinking then, you've got a receptionist speaking with the public, and the accent, and I'm pretty good with accents. I mean, like, I've done a lot of traveling, and I'm having difficulty. The other people with me trying to talk to this woman on the phone have a real difficulty. And you think to yourself, of course, the idea is, couldn't they have given this to a Canadian, someone born here, not necessarily white, but anybody that could speak, anybody that's Canadian that could speak English more clearly.
Yeah.
You see the irritation. So there's a mild example of the irritation that's out there.
Oh, I get it. And it's the same.
Why Canadians feel they're being pushed aside, so a new Canadian can come in.
And I get it, because it's certainly in particular in jobs like in jobs where language, use of language is important, like calling the bank about your overdraft or whatever. You don't need to be talking to a person you can't understand.
Yeah,
Trouble
like
is, a lot of that is to do with the fact that they underpay people. So if you're going to only pay,
oh no, those are not the
minimum
jobs I'm
wage,
talking about.
but if
Those
you're
are
only going to pay minimum wage, often you only get the people who've got poor use of language.
No, I'm talking about jobs that are well paying in the government, like I said, or as a receptionist or a communicator in a hospital.
Yeah.
They're all very well paid. There was another point there, like I was trying to bring up that, but I just lost it now. Go ahead then.
All right. Okay. Shipments are up 1.2% now. We've got more than 24 million tons of cargo being shipped since the Seaway opened the beginning in March this year. So we're on record shipments right now.
Yeah. So I don't know. It looks good, but until you get down a little bit farther into the article, so the shipments up about 7.5 million tons of grain. It's up 2 point, but the dry bulk and stuff like that is down. So if you go, at first it looks a little bit optimistic. So it looks as if there's a small amount of increase over the year before, but that's mostly grains and things like that. But if you look farther down, the industrial goods, steel, the iron ore, and the coal, that's all being reduced. Like there's less of that, which is problematic, which means when you talk about iron ore and coal and things of that, or plate steel, things of that is the thing that feeds industry. Grain, having a lot of grain being shipped out is a good thing. Very good. We've got a market here for our Western farmers. Get it out there, get it out to the world. Keep those Western farmers prosperous. That's good for Canada. It's good for the world. But domestically, I'm not so sure that I'm happy about the real issue here. Like it says, oh, darn my phone. There you go. Come on, phone. Cooperate. There we go. It's not cooperating. Anyway, oh boy, it's giving me problems right now. Anyway, trying to get the article up.
Well, one of the things I've noticed when I'm doing some additional research here is that they're saying right now that that there are low water levels across the St. Lawrence River, particularly, and it's experiencing its lowest water levels in a decade. So getting out the mouth of the St. Lawrence is a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I was trying to say earlier. I couldn't get the article up, but I didn't know the figures exactly, but I knew there was a decline. Dry bulk cargo shipments were up 3.3%, and that was the same as last year. Dry bulk consists of commodities such as stone, gravel, sand, salt, cement, potash, and gypsum. So that's a positive sign. But when you come a little bit further, figures show shipments of coal, general cargo, which includes iron and steel slabs, machinery, and wind energy turbines, were down 20 and 29% respectively. That's an incredible drop. So it leads off with a positive, but right in the middle, there's a gut punch, a real gut punch.
I don't take much in terms of 1.2% is hardly a rise at all, right?
Well, and it says iron ore shipments are down over the same as last year with 6.2% decrease. Liquid bulk, which includes gasoline, diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, ethanol, and biodiesel, is down 2.5%. These are the big money makers. I'm very happy that the grains, Western grains, and that are going up, and dry bulk is going up. That's positive signs. But these other signs, where they're right down 20 and 29%, that's a real gut punch. The whole article I think it misses the point that these are essential to our industrial heartland here in Ontario, especially those types of materials. When they go down, that's not a good sign.
Yeah. Well, actually, that would bother me more. The fact when you're, as I said just now, going up 1.2% it's almost hardly worth celebrating. What are we missing here? And as you said, iron ore shipments down 7.7% compared to last year. Right?
Yeah. So commodities are going through there, which is kind of good. And of course, we can always celebrate the grain shipments because we know people are going to get fed by that, and it keeps our Western farmers healthy if we got a market for it. So the more grain we're moving, this can't be anything but a good sign. But this business about, diesel and kerosene and things of that kind down, those are used in industry. Jet fuel down. That doesn't sound too good, does it?
No.
Steel slabs, iron ore, all of that, 6.2% down in coal. Well, of course, the coal that was being used would be used primarily in the steel mills. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, because that actually is showing industry is in a bad way.
Well, yeah, it is. It's
in a bad way. We can't say it's actually bad until we see other indicators, but it has the potential for being bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is a very strong indication that there's a reduction in industrial output, which can't be that good.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, Niagara Regional Police Board members are calling for 6-month updates and concerns about the impact of zero tolerance approach to illegal drug use.
Yeah, so this being not too controversial, really. It sounds as if it's controversial, but it's not really controversial. It was the idea that police and, I don't know, other community workers, mostly police, were trying to get the homeless and the drug addicted off the streets and away from doing drugs openly in and among the community. So the whole thing was to encourage them to go somewhere else to do their drugs, stay away from downtowns especially, and parks and places where they hang out, and go away from there and do their drugs somewhere else. The problem here is it's in its early days, and what the cops are dealing with this in a variety of different ways. Some cops are just encouraging the people to get away from the downtown area or community places, and kind of sort of communicating with the drug addicted and trying to establish a rapport and encourage them to stay away from places where they intimidate the population. Probably trying to direct them to places where they might be treated, but others are being quite rough and taking away their drugs and making a mess and all that. So I'm not so sure when you get comments like this, you get extreme examples. I can't really see the cops ripping away at some guy's stash and stomping on it and making a big mess, which is kind of looks like it's happening, what is reported here. But this is early stages in this new no tolerance thing. I don't know how it's going to go.
Well, and you always get some people that go over the top. It's possible you've got over the top reporting. It's possible you've got over the top policing.
Yeah. See if I get the article up. Come on. Phone's being a bit of a problem this morning. Okay. Where is
see
supplies? So it says like supplies smashed, searched, and items thrown all over. Police board member critical of Niagara crackdown on drug use in places. With ongoing concern about Niagara's Regional Police crackdown on people using illegal drugs in parks and other places, police board members are asking for impact reports on the enforcement efforts.
Yeah.
Well, at first, it doesn't seem to be going as smoothly as they thought it would. For instance, it's reported here that the police are telling these people to go home and do the drugs, or to go to their friends' homes and do their drugs when they don't have any homes. So there are certain things the police need to be educated on here. Maybe is just know where they can direct a drug user to go to do their drugs that would stay away from the public. The problem is drug addicted people and homeless people gravitate to downtown areas. That's the best place to do some panhandling. That's the best place to do that kind of thing. And they don't like to be alone. They like to be in among people. Like, of course, they're in a situation where they're on the edge of society. I don't think they like to be on the edge of society. I think they like to be in and among people. But this is where they come into public bathrooms, like you mentioned yourself, and make a mess. I don't know why so many of them make a mess of the toilets they use. Don't ask me that.
I don't understand that either. I really don't. I understand the need to use toilets. I don't understand why you make a mess of them.
Yeah, that's a real mystery to me too. Yeah. They like to make a mess of toilets anytime you get. Well, they had the public toilets in St. Catharines. They had the very sophisticated ones, and they were destroyed. They were made a mess of. They're just complete animals with them. And like I shouldn't use that word animals, but they were not. They were complete barbarians when they were used. Well, and that wouldn't be everybody, by the way.
No,
but there seems to be this tendency of resentment among some members of the homeless community or drug addicted community. There's just this sort of undercurrent of resentment, so they damage things and vandalize things. I think it's a very small number of them, but all it takes is one, to do that kind of thing. So here you have efforts to make a very nice washroom. I think even one you could have a shower in.
Yeah.
And yet they couldn't keep it going because it got destroyed. We don't know by who. We don't know if it's about by the homeless themselves or just some vandals. It seems to be vandalism is very popular now. I don't know why.
Yeah, and you would have thought it would have been safe enough close to the fire station, wouldn't you?
Well, the firefighters aren't going to keep an eye on it. Why would they? I mean, if they would see it once in a while, if they would see somebody abusing it once in a while, they might do something about it. But the issue is here. What do you do? Like here we go again. Where unfortunately we're enacting a policy that will not work. Like I don't want to put a wet blanket on it already, but hey, guess what? Let's tell the drug addicts to go over there and do their drugs instead of over here. Don't do them in public, do them over there. And don't come back. So they You think they're going to listen to that? They're going to find an alley and they're going to do them, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, and part of the thing is that there's been misinformation out there for quite some time. There's a belief out there that particularly on social media, that all homeless people are drug addicts, and they're not. Right?
No, they're not.
It's true that there are many drug addicts amongst the homeless population, but they're not all drug addicts.
There is a lot of drug abuse. Homelessness and drug and alcohol abuse are very closely tied a lot of times. But there are a lot of homeless people out there that do not do any of that try to survive without that kind of thing. There are people just on the fringe that just don't seem to be able to make it into society or be accepted into society or whatever, so they end up on the fringe. I told you about the guy Maxwell. He's a homeless guy. Yeah. He's been around town. He's one of the smartest guys I know. But I don't know why he can't get a job and hold it down. But he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs. He's happy to sit in front of a computer and learn stuff. And he knows a lot, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't really understand. When we think of homeless and we think of drug and alcohol abuse, they are seriously tied together. And I would wager that most of them have a drug or alcohol problem. May not be complete addicts, but they indulge. And I wouldn't blame them if I was them. I mean, if I had a chance to smoke a crack pipe and I'd been homeless for 6 months, to get a couple of hours of complete relief, I was sure that I would probably take that opportunity to do that. However, there are, once you get addicts, then you have a real problem there, because addicts need money. And then once that happens, you start to get a lot of petty crime. I'm not so sure. I think this is just going to be one more failed attempt at dealing with the homeless people. But the zero tolerance of having addicts do their drugs in public, I think, is probably a positive thing to get the addicts out of the community where they intimidate people. People have businesses down there in the cities, and you got a lot of homeless people hanging around there, and that intimidates it. Like an old lady walking down the road, or even a middle-aged woman walking down the sidewalk being harassed by homeless people for money and change. I mean, where's she going to go shopping next? It's going to be online or at the Penn Center, where that's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we have the same issue. It's in different streets, but we have them here in the Falls as well. And biggest challenge with Central St. Catharines is that it seems to have impacted post-COVID return to business.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm sure the same is true here in Niagara Falls as well.
Yeah. I think the real issue, though, is there is no problem. There's a growing homeless and addicted problem, and we are not effective in dealing with it.
No.
And this is one thing I suppose you could think of it if once they get their techniques right, and they can send the addicts to a place away from people where they can do their drugs. If they can figure that part of it out, that's okay. But they're not really fixing anything at the core issue. And the core issue is there are a growing number of homeless people and there's a growing number of addicts.
Yeah.
How do you solve it? What do you do with your growing number of homeless people? What do you do with them?
Yeah.
Do you incarcerate them?
when they've done nothing wrong. When when homelessness is not a crime.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you do with
it?
But it is a huge problem for society because a small amount of people cost the community an incredible amount of money.
Yeah. But again, there are also some homeless people that have got jobs, right?
So if you look them probably be an extreme minority.
They're a small minority, but they do it. They do. There are many that do have jobs, and you lock them up. That means that they've got no access to doing jobs again.
I think they have there's an issue there. I remember talking to a guy that worked at a gas station. He was talking to me about his hard times that he went through. And he got to the point where he couldn't afford he didn't make money enough to afford a place to stay. So what he did was he started a couch surf, actually, friends. So he stayed at one person's place for a week, and then another person's place for a week, and another, sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
So not imposing himself more than a week on each different friend or family member until he could get enough money together to get his own place, or at least be able to share rent with somebody.
Yeah.
And so that guy was really on the tip of hitting the streets. It's a common story that people who are kind of losing it a little by little. And there's a guy that is like about that far from hitting the streets. He was lucky he had a plan, and he had family and friends to help him until he got on his feet and got a job or so.
So they're officially homeless, but for they're officially homeless, but for the fact they're couch surfing. Couch surfing only goes so far.
Yeah, you got to ask one of your friends or relatives to be your mailing address too, because if you wanted to do anything or get any kind of assistance from the government, you have to have an address. Yeah. And so anyway, you have to have that address for you to be able to communicate. If you're looking for assisted housing or anything like that, one of the most ridiculous things about getting assisted housing is they say, well, we have to have an address for you. Well, how am I supposed to have an address when I don't have a house to live in, or I'm couch surfing? I don't have an address. And it can't be a P.O. box either. It has to be an address. And that's one of the biggest issues with Niagara Regional Housing. You have to have an address. Well, if I had an address, I wouldn't need a place to stay.
Yeah, yeah.
If they don't let you use a P.O. box number, or it has to be a real address. Well, how stupid is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Accusations of cronyism have been long dogging Doug Ford.
Yeah, Doug's getting more and more popular, and I'm with him a lot with this tariff thing for sure. I think it was a real ballsy thing he did, putting that ad with Reagan in it on the World Series.
I watched the ad. I watched the ad. I watched the Reagan speech. In fact, actually, there was a gentleman who actually understood the use of tariffs and how important it was to use them the right way.
Yeah, and he was extremely reluctant to use them when he did, and hoped to get away with them when it was necessary.
Yeah.
No tariffs was Reagan's biggest goal. He was a globalist. He was a free tradist. He did the preliminary work for the NAFTA agreement between Canada and the United States, believed in open free trade between Canada and the United States. So when Trump says that Reagan loved tariffs, he's lying. He lies all the time. He just lies. Anytime he opens his mouth, he lies. That just it's like that's gonna like it's just he tells you what he thinks you want to hear or what he wants himself to hear. Reagan loved tariffs. He loved tariffs. No, he was extremely reluctant to use them and only when he had to.
There was a 7-minute speech that Reagan did in relation to tariffs on Japan and his turn in the 80s. And if you think about it, that impacted the growth of the American computer manufacturers was the ability and the tariffs that the Japanese were placing upon conductors.
Yeah.
And Reagan didn't understand what a conductor was. That was clear, but that didn't matter. Right? He understood how it impacted American business.
The Ronald Reagan Foundation said they took Reagan's comments out of context, but it didn't really.
No.
It was very clearly Reagan's attitude that he was against tariffs. Like he didn't like them and want all. And he liked free trade. Completely opposite of what Trump is doing now. And it was during a time. It was during a time when Japan. We forgot about how powerful Japan was. At one time, Japan was in the place of China was right now. It was the second largest trade partner of the United States and Canada, Japan at one time.
Yeah.
This is before China was hardly even starting its beginning. China's remarkable story is how fast it went from an agrarian society to an industrial society is extremely fast, but they took a lot of lessons from the Japanese. And so the tariff thing, the protectionism that the Japanese had, that was a big issue back in those days. I remember Lee Iacocca going to Japan saying, you got to start buying Chryslers. We're buying Japanese cars. You're not buying any American cars. Well, it was very, very funny to me because it was pointed out in the newspapers that none of the Chrysler products had a right-hand drive. In Japan, they drive on the left, so you have to have a right-hand drive car. And they're complaining, Chrysler's complaining they're not buying any Chryslers in Japan. Well, for one thing, none of the Chrysler products had a right-hand drive.
Yeah.
So how could they sell them anyway?
Yeah, makes a whole heap of difference that, because if you can't drive them on the road, doesn't help anybody. Yeah. But anyway, back to cronyism and Doug Ford, because we're going to be coming back to this issue tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it probably we only got about 3 minutes, but basically, even though Doug has got a rise in popularity and his numbers have never even been better, the core problems with Doug Ford are the same ones that he began with, and that's cronyism, paying off, giving choice contracts and choice and preferential treatment to his conservative buddies and their businesses. Now you could complain. Well, you could say, well, every government does that, and we saw what happened to S&C Lavalin when Trudeau when they were caught doing some naughty things, and Wilson Raybould was going to charge them, and Trudeau ran in as the and saved S&C Lavalin. And that was because they were a huge campaign supporter of the Liberals. So obviously, and they were popular in Quebec. So he went in and you see that's cronyism right there, basically. That was a huge Liberal supporter, and they got into trouble. And what happens is the government uses its power to reduce the effect of its what it should be doing. That's cronyism. So if you want to criticize Doug Ford for cronyism, First of all, the article is written by the Star, and the Star is a very left-wing paper. So the Star will not zero in on the cronyism of the liberals, basically, but they will on the cronyism of Ford. Having said that, yes, there is some very troubling problems with the Ford administration and handing out some little appointments.
The Greenbelt scandal is got to be the biggest one of them, right? Because suddenly he wanted to open up 7,400 acres of protected greenbelt in order to develop. Then you've got the Science Center, and now there's Fighting Delays Building Faster Act, which is putting in sweeping changes to 40 provincial policies on residential tenancies. Although that one, the latest is that the Ford government's backing down upon that.
Well, this particular article zeroes in on the trade development programs they have and who's getting money for them. I think is very, very important the way they've done that. And if I can find the last article. Can't find the last. Maybe we can continue this tomorrow because it's already 8 o'clock.
Right? Yeah.
So I like that. I had everything ready. I've read all these articles and researched them, but for some reason I can't find them. Anyway, we can come back to that tomorrow.
We can pick it back up tomorrow.
But the thing that haunts Doug Ford all the way is his cronyism, and it is overt, whereas other parties at least try to hide it. Doug Ford is always in trouble with it. And that is a thing that counterbalances his huge popularity because of his fight against tariff and his defending of Ontario. Yeah, I believe he is a tireless fighter for Ontario workers and people, but the cronyism business, yeah, that is a bit of a problem for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Before I go, I got to talk about Gaza as always. The outrages are still happening there. J.D. Vance has gone over there to sort of straighten out Netanyahu, tell him you can't have the West Bank, you can't cede it. Finally, the U.S. is putting the pressure on Israel that it had the power to do it all along. And I can't, and I have to think that it's in no less of a reason than AIPAC is now losing some of its power in the United States. I think that's a good thing. I hope but I'm not crossing my fingers yet. So the outrages in Gaza is still happening. 82% of all Gaza structures have damaged or completely destroyed. It will take decades to rebuild that. Decades. Like, where are they going to put the rubble?
Yeah.
And it's not over yet. I think we in the West have a lot of answering to do. And anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu.
All right. Have a good day.